All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Monday. Um, Basically, I'm just going to go over some examples, um, and then you will complete. You're going to go to the textbook and complete the 1-2 practice that I assigned. I think it's 11 problems. All right. Oop. Okay. So hopefully you remember we were solving equations last week. And we started with one-step equations, and now we're getting into multi-step equations. And so I have an example like this, where you're just going to do 2 steps, and then the other examples will be a little bit more involved. So here we go. So negative 21 equals this whole side. We want to find what C is, the C that will make this equation true. All right. I'm going to keep using the Jolly Rancher, or not Jolly Rancher, Sour Patch Kids bag example, to where both sides are equal and balanced. So whatever we do, so if I add 11, so it's negative 11, do the opposite to get rid of it on this side. We're going to do the same thing over here. So like with the candies, when we took 8 from one side, we had to take it from the other. All right. So when we do that, this cancels. So all we have left on this side is 1/2 C. We ultimately want to get this by itself. Okay. Negative 11, no, negative 21 plus 11. So subtract them. And since the bigger number is negative, no negative. Now it says negative 10 equals 1/2 C. We have to get rid of that 1/2. It's division. If it's a fraction, division. So we need to do the opposite. So we will multiply. So if we multiply both sides by 2, use the denominator to determine what you're going to multiply by. Since it's a 2 here, ultimately we want this to be a 1. So 1/2 times 2 will get you 1. So 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. And basically that 1/2 and that 2 cancel each other out. So C equals negative 20. If you want to check yourself, you plug that back in. Negative 20 times 1/2 is negative 10. Minus 11 would be negative 21. So that is the correct answer. So 2 steps. You had to add the 11, and you had to take it times 2. 2 steps. All right, the next one. So these next couple are going to have a couple more steps, but ultimately we're going to simplify it to where it is just 2 steps when you go to solve it. Oops. All right. So when I say we need to simplify it, we have 2 variables here. Now, but they're both the same, and so we need to combine like terms so that we only have one variable to deal with. When you think about that Sour Patch Kids example, we can combine anything on, the one side, and it won't change the balance of the equation. It won't change the balance of the scale. So think about it as if we had like 2 bags and 10 bags. How many bags do we have? Well, we have 12. Everything else stays the same. We haven't changed anything about the problem. We just combined like terms. There. And from there, it's 2 steps, just like from before. So subtract the 12. We need to get the x by itself. So subtract 12 on both sides. That cancels this out. So on this side, all we have left is negative 12x. And 18 minus 12 is 6. All right, get the x by itself. It's negative 12 times x. So do the inverse operation, the opposite. Oops. I'm already ahead of myself. Divide by negative 12. That cancels there. And so we have x equals. And you can keep it like this. Just make sure to simplify the fraction if you can. So 6 over 12. Both of them can be divided by 6. And so the answer would be negative 1/2. So if you do end up with a fraction, I would keep it as a fraction. If you put that in your calculator, you'll get negative 0.5. That's fine, but just be aware. If we have something that looks like a fraction when we divide, it's probably going to stay as a fraction. So just make sure that you're able to convert from fractions to decimals if you're going to put your answer in decimal form. All right. So that is one thing you might run into. You need to combine like terms. Okay. A different type of example, and so this is something we haven't gone over in class, is this. All right. So what it says is 2 times the quantity 1 minus x plus 3 equals negative 8. And the problem here is, so before we had 2 variables and we need to make it 1 so we could deal with it. And that's if we have the same variable. They were both x's. In this case, we only have 1, but we have this, which kind of makes it tricky. The x is trapped in the parentheses. So we have to simplify it to where there's no more parentheses. And the way we're going to do that is, let's just deal with this whole thing that I had underlined, 2 times 1 minus x. And so we talked about this. What this means, just this right here, is 2 of these, 1 minus x. Now we could write it out. We have one of these, and we have another one. How many ones do we have? Well, now we have 2, and we have 2 negative x's. So rather than write it out every time, like that. Now, if that helps you, definitely do it. We have 2 1 minus x's. You can just take that term outside and multiply it into each of the terms in the parentheses. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative x is negative 2x. The 3 stays. And so does the negative 8. And again, remember, before we can solve, we need to simplify both sides so it makes solving as easy as it can be. Just like with the scale, we've done nothing to mess with the balance of the equation, only if we do one thing to one side and the other. Right? And so still, we can do one more thing. Let's go and add the 2 plus the 3. So negative 2x stays. 2 plus 3 is 5. Equals negative 8. And from there, now we have a two-step equation. Subtract 5 from both sides. Negative 2x equals negative 13. And so we'll end up with a fraction. Divide both sides by negative 2. It's negative 2 times x. So do the opposite, which is divide. And negative divided by a negative is positive. 13 over 2. You can just keep it as 13 over 2. I'm cool with that. If you do the division, it'll be 6.5. I almost said 7.5. It would be 6.5. I would just keep it as a fraction. Kind of makes things easier. All right, one more example. We'll do another distribution example. So the distributive property is only when you see that number outside of a set of parentheses. Like this. So this one looks a little different, where it's kind of out of order compared to actually the opposite of what we just did. And just make sure that when you do this and you distribute, you're only dealing with this number outside the parentheses. All right. So again, we need to get that variable untrapped from the parentheses. There are 4 of these sets of parentheses, and instead of writing it all out, we will just keep everything the same and multiply the 4 times 2d, 8d, 4 times negative 3, negative 12. So hopefully you'll start to see the patterns here. It's very similar to the last one we distributed. Now we're going to combine like terms. 5 minus 12. So negative 7 plus 8d. And so always take the the sign out in front. So positive 5, negative 12. All right. From there, we got a two-step equation. It's a -7 or a -7, so add 7 to both sides to cancel it out. So if it's negative, make sure you do the opposite to positive. 15 plus 7, 22, equals 8d. Divide by 8. And again, you'll end up with a fraction. So those 8's cancel. So d equals 22 over 8. Again, you can keep it as a fraction. If you simplify it, it would be 11 over 4. They're both divisible by 2. And again, you could put that in your calculator. It comes out to be 2 3/4, I believe. All right, other than that, that's going to be about it, guys. Make sure you do the assignment after watching this. Take care, guys.